Welcome to Dean's Discuss, a podcast that examines how science and research at UC Davis affect our everyday lives. Join our hosts, Dean Brashear, Dean of the UC Davis School of Medicine, and Michael Lairmore, Dean of the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, as they give their thoughts on how the work of scientists, physicians, and researchers affects us all.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Michael.
You know, today on our episode, I really want to explore a little bit further some of the amazing research that's going on in the School of Medicine. So can I ask you a few questions? You know, when you think about the School of Medicine and the evolution of your research programs, and you've done a great job since you've been here of really fostering that and speaking about that and really explaining that to the public. You know, can you explore a little bit about what's going on and what are some of the foundations in the School of Medicine that really foster biomedical research?
Well, as I think you might know, we have the largest amount of NIH funding in the last year, 181 million.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and the research trend so far for the third quarter is really also tracking way above last year. You know, one of the things we want to do in the School of Medicine is bring new treatments to our patients at the bedside. And I really believe schools of medicine are about improving health through all the missions, either education, research, providing clinical care, or partnering with the community like we did with the vaccine. You know, we have all these major grants. I think we're probably one of the very few schools of medicine that have something, the Mind Center, which is over 6 million. The Conti Center was just renewed for 15 million. We have an Alzheimer's Disease Center, a clinical translational science center, which is funded for 33 million.
Those centers like that, you know, so I assume that those centers are really around bringing researchers together. Can you explain how some of that funding does that?
Yeah, so all of those centers are designed to not only train the next generation of researchers in those fields, but also to bring research directly together with basic science and clinical researchers. So that's kind of what a center does, is it's a milieu, it's an environment that really energizes innovation, entrepreneurship, and thinking about things in a new way. You know, diversity of everywhere really spurs innovation. And when we get a diverse group of maybe the clinicians and scientists all in the same room, like the Cancer Center does, then you spur innovation. And then you can actually bring those trials more quickly to the bedside to see if they actually work.
That's great, because, you know, one thing that I think that you've really done is and with your leaders within medicine is really open that up so that the disciplines can come together and really impact. I mean, ultimately, I know the School of Medicine is very dedicated also to the community. Can you speak towards how some of that research directly impacts the community and the people that we serve, both within California, but also in the nation as well?
Well, you know, clinical trials are near and dear to my heart. And I believe that's actually why patients oftentimes come to an academic health system. And for example, we have 892 clinical trials underway across neuroscience, oncology, neurology, sleep medicine, many others. Many of those were in COVID, but many are not. And our research really kept going full speed for our clinical trials in the worst times of COVID. I'm so proud of all of our cancer doctors who continue to enroll patients. You know, that's really how you bring things directly to the community. You know, I think the sweet spot for schools of medicine and the integrated health systems where, you know, I work side by side with our hospital leadership, and we work and partner to bring cutting edge treatments to our patients, to the community, and nationally. Nationally, that's either drug development, basic science, things like the Explore, but locally, that's things like clinical trials, like the vaccine trial. You know, we had the Pfizer vaccine trial when it wasn't really available much in our community. We also were one of the first places that had remdesivir or the Regeneron medicines and others. So, that's what schools of medicine bring to a community. And of course, nationally, the schools of medicine have been really leaders in how to pivot on the pandemic.
You really bring up a couple of really good points in that, we often hear about team science, and I know the School of Medicine is really fostering team science. And what's the value of that? I mean, how do you cultivate that too? Because obviously the other major mission that you have is educating the next generation of physician scientists. Can you describe a little bit about some of the environment for fostering team science in the School of Medicine?
Well, fostering team science in the School of Medicine is within the centers that we describe, but also as dean, I've launched a Cultivating Team Science Award, and we had 22 submissions. We'll be announcing the 2 teams that are going to get funded for the next year, and that's really designed to bring people together from diverse backgrounds so that they can think creatively about different ways to solve problems in medicine. And we don't want to just spit to medicine, because we work collaboratively with the College of Biological Sciences, headed by Dean Winey, your School of Veterinary Medicine. We've been working with the College of Engineering, and that's actually the sweet spot for UC Davis nationally. I can't think of very many places where we have such a nationally ranked veterinary school and School of Medicine in the same environment.
Yeah, I think that's as you mentioned, is sort of a magic. There's very low barriers here, I think, between, agriculture and engineering and medicine and biological sciences. And really, that's where those team science approaches really are fostered and really are helpful. I know you're a neuroscientist, and really think about that. You've brought some amazing work in your past research to our UC Davis community, and there is a new neuroscience. I know neuroscience isn't a major focus for the School of Medicine. Can you describe something about that as well?
So neuroscience at UC Davis is very, very strong. We're also incredibly strong in cancer. What we have here is neuroscience across the lifetime and across the continuum of basic science to clinical trials. So, we have an incredibly strong Alzheimer's Disease Center with Dr. Charlie DeCarli. We also have a large grant that he just received for $53 million, which was to study white matter disease in patients with memory problems. And then you can take it to kind of even more patient focused, as we're involved in the Pointer trial, which is the effect of exercise on memory.
Yeah, it's good, because I just rode my bike into work, so I'm hoping that'll help me today.
That's right. That's right. Our leader, Rachel Whitmer, is leading that. And what Rachel tells me gets me also out of bed to go to the gym. But, neuroscience also is about young children and the effect of even things in pregnancy, like illnesses in the mother, and how does that perhaps set the baby and child later up for disease like autism or other problems with thinking. And so we are incredibly strong. Personally, that's one of the things that brought me to UC Davis. I study ATP1A3 diseases, which is the sodium potassium pump that keeps all cells alive. And with a team, I'm the clinician, and I have a biochemist and a geneticist that I've worked with for 20 years. And we've been uncovering different things about those genetic mutations that impact disease across a broad continuum.
So team science was really in your background even before we were able to recruit you here. So that's wonderful.
Oh yes.
I've heard some wonderful new and really novel clinical trials in areas like stem cell research. And I know that there's been some really excitement recently in that. Could you describe a little bit of that?
Right. So Jan Nolta has been working with our stem cell group, and we have an alpha clinic, and we're working on some novel therapies there. And of course, California has CIRM, which has now been refunded by the voters for 5.5 million, and 1.5 million of that is for neuroscience. So those are incredible opportunities to really advance science. Jan Nolta's group is working on things like Huntington's disease, a absolutely devastating neurologic disease. And the idea that we could use in gene editing or other modalities to change the course of that devastating disease is phenomenal. So it's really bringing together everybody's talents. As a leader, I like to say, I want to work with all of the smart people and bring their best selves to the problem. And when you bring everyone's best self to the problem and you have a diverse group of thinkers, you begin to think outside the box on ways to possibly solve problems.
Yeah, that innovation that you're fostering, and then the seed grant program that you mentioned really is a spark to bring people together. And I think you as a role model and being out in front and talking about it is really critical. I think the thing that is amazing is the number of trials and the breadth of what is available for the community to find. So how does, for those that aren't familiar with clinical trials, how do they find this information? How do they find, for example, if they have a relative with a disease or they're interested in a disease and they say, well, is there a new clinical trial going on? How do they find that information?
So you could go to studypages.com at UC Davis, and you can look on there and see if we have a clinical trial. Our clinical trials span from treating children or in utero before the child's born with Diana Farmer's work with spina bifida, all the way to the elderly in terms of enrollment in memory and other diseases. And we have something for everyone. I would share a little personal story. I personally participated in clinical trials as a daughter of someone who died with breast cancer. And my mother-in-law personally participated in my husband's family in Alzheimer's research. And we actually donated my mother-in-law's brain. Sadly, she died of Alzheimer's disease. So I actually will say that everybody can participate in research. You don't have to be sick. You can either support research by philanthropy, or you can participate. We're always looking for normals. Like, I participated in the cancer trial a while back because they needed normals. And so that's one thing that we really would like our community to think about. Research is so important, and the pandemic has put a new focus on research, science, facts, and collaboration.
So important, and finding that information, but also knowing that they can help in many different ways. And like your family, my family has benefited from clinical trials in cancer and other things. My daughter has participated and volunteered as a normal, as you call it. I'm not normal, so I can't volunteer, but no, I'm just kidding. But I think you bring up an excellent point where we really need to all participate and think about that, because we all benefit from that, or society benefits from that. Well, Allison, this has been a great discussion, the breadth and the excitement of the biomedical research in the School of Medicine, and how you've integrated that within a campus like ours and within the UCs is incredible. So congratulations. Thank you. I look forward to, really thinking about how we can affect the next generation and also bring this to our community in future episodes. So thank you. It's been great talking with you today, Allison.
Great to talk to you too. I'll see you soon, Michael.
Take care.
Like what you heard or have an idea for a future episode? Email the deans with your suggestions at deansdiscuss@ucdavis.edu. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Deans Discuss Podcast is available free on demand at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon's TuneIn, Stitcher, Pandora, and Spotify. This is Deans Discuss.